No sooner had they knelt than it began. The sound of booing echoing around the Den before the match against Derby County. Their response to the players' action against racism has been widely condemned.
Dominique Samuels, were these fans racist for booing the players who took the knee?
No, I don't think so. I think, you could perhaps make loose claims of there being individual people that are racist in the crowds, but I think we have to have common sense in terms of what we're actually talking about here, because Black Lives Matter is a political organisation. It's a political movement. I've been saying this for a while now. People are saying to me, no, this is not true. It's not political. And then we see that Black Lives Matter has registered as a political party. So this is inherently political. And if that was me, at that stadium, I would have probably booed as well, because I believe that Black Lives Matter is antithetical to the needs of Black people. And as a poll showing that 55% of people believe that Black Lives Matter has caused more division, I don't think this is necessarily an unpopular opinion to have. So no, I don't think they were racist.
So Dominic, just to make clear, as a young black woman, if you were at the stadium, you would also have booed the Millwall players who took the knee?
Yes, I would have, because, I'm speaking for myself here, but I don't need a famous rich footballer to get down on one knee for me to know that my life matters.
Are they a pack of wild racists, or is there something else motivating that reaction?
Well, if you listen to the media here, they're all just racist scumbags. I mean, that's the narrative that's being pushed. But these fans, who are mainly fans of Millwall, which is a famous London team, I think they're just sick and tired of football having been hijacked by the Black Lives Matter ideology. And we have to remind ourselves, booing Black Lives Matter is not the same as booing black people. Black Lives Matter is an ideological movement. It's a divisive movement. It's anti-family. It's anti-police. It pushes critical race theory, which essentially says all white people are racist and all black people are victims. This is an ideology that people are perfectly entitled, and in my view, quite wise, to oppose. And I think what those booing fans were essentially saying is, stop hijacking our beautiful game with your ugly politics and let us just watch the football.
But the other thing I have to say I don't think is very helpful is people like Nigel Farage calling the movement a Marxist mob. I mean,
it is.
But
Black Lives Matter, the capital letters. It is.
I just.
Sorry,
have
you
agree.
read? What do you mean? No, it's not a question of agreeing or not. Have you read their manifesto?
No, but
have you read their manifesto?
But this originated from black people being killed. It's nothing to do with Marxism. This is to do with people wanting...
They had Black Lives Matter written on the back of their shirts. Black Lives Matter is a political movement that is an openly socialist Marxist movement about tearing down capitalism, defunding the police. That is a political statement.
For months we've had sporting competitions throughout the world, including soccer authorities and the media and sports broadcasters, all go out of their way to inject this BLM agenda into sporting events. Do they not understand that their activism and their political views and ideology is not shared by the masses?
Well, I think they really don't understand that. I think the arrogance of the woke elites is now through the roof to such an extent that they think everyone must conform to their way of thinking. And I think that's what really explains the reaction to the Millwall fans who booed taking the knee. The reaction was absolutely hysterical from the media, from the chattering classes, because they cannot abide the thought that there are people out there who disagree with them. They cannot accept that, and they want to force everyone, to take the knee, to bow down to the politics of identity. But, you're right. The question on lots of fans' minds is, why are British footballers still taking the knee over a killing that happened 7 months ago, 4,000 miles away from the UK? That's a perfectly legitimate question for people to ask. And I think this incident, even though it's quite minor in the scheme of things, it's really illustrated just how much of a divide there is now between the right-on elites and ordinary people. And I think that divide is going to get larger and larger.
But why are the media, Brendan, so dishonest about this group and its motivations? Its co-founders are quite open that they're neo-Marxists and they've got political aims, including dismantling capitalism, the nuclear family. They want to defund the police. They say what they stand for, but the media present them as just some equality or anti-racism movement.
There is a huge amount of dishonesty, and I think it's because supporting Black Lives Matter is really the way in which you indicate that you're a good person, that you are an acceptable member of the woke establishment, that you have all the right opinions. It's become a very powerful form of virtue signaling, of signaling to the world that you're on the right side of the argument. And so there's huge pressure on people to conform to this ideology, to prove that they are a decent person. That's really what's happening here. It's very religious in that sense. But I think a lot of ordinary people are sick and tired of the racialization of everything in society, and they're sick and tired of constantly being called racist. If you criticize Black Lives Matter, you're racist. If you ask why British footballers are still taking the knee, you're racist. Of course, if you voted for Brexit, you're racist. If you criticize Meghan Markle, you're racist. I mean, the chattering class's response to every challenge to their politics of identity is simply to turn around and accuse people of being racist. That's a really low form of politics. That's not a good way to conduct public debate. And I think what people are actually crying out for is sensible discussion about the problems facing society rather than these constant woke witch hunts of anyone who doesn't share the establishment's view.
Because we've seen BLM really become entrenched in so much that we see, and it's not just in the sporting world and in amongst celebrities and in the media and academia, but even amongst the police. We saw when those BLM protesters were rampaging in some instances during a pandemic, that some members of the police over there took a knee for them. And then we see the reaction to how the police treat those who are protesting against the lockdown. A very different approach, no understanding, no respect. They're going in hard and making maximum number of arrests. So has BLM really taken a hold in the UK from everywhere from universities to the police force?
Yeah, definitely. Within the establishment, it really has. And as you say, the police essentially support BLM, the university system, of course, the celebrity set, most of the political elite, the media, the sports industry. I mean, everyone. You can't turn on your TV here without seeing some kind of Black Lives Matter statement or performance. The Vicar of Dibley, which is a very well-known British sitcom starring Dawn French, apparently the Christmas special is going to involve the vicar taking the knee and giving a sermon about Black Lives Matter, which I think really sums up the BBC. In fact, they're literally going to give a sermon to the masses about Black Lives Matter and the importance of this new ideology.
And the Vicar of Dibley, of course, once again reveals the widening chasm between the way the BBC bosses think and the way their audience think. This is getting to be a big problem, isn't it? That the elites, if you like, have no regard for what their audience or their fans or supporters feel and believe.
I think that absolutely, that's hit the nail on the head. The fact that the Vicar of Dibley revelation, that this is going to happen, and the Millwall booing, the fact that they've happened around the same time, tells us a really important story about this country, which is that there is a massive divide between the elites, the cultural and political elites, and ordinary people. Now, that divide was kind of hidden over the past few months because ordinary people were shunted out of the public sphere. We weren't allowed to gather in public. We weren't allowed to go to work in some cases. We weren't allowed to go to the pub, and we weren't allowed to go to the football. So people had been silenced, essentially. They didn't have a voice in the way that they did in the past. So the tensions between the elites and the people were kind of hidden, and everyone was just apparently taking the knee in public. But now, ordinary people are coming back into the public sphere. They're back at football. They're back at the pub, so long as they order a substantial meal. And I think we're going to start seeing people saying, no, we've had enough of this. We want to stop this virtue signaling nonsense, stop this constant self-flagellation over a terrible killing that happened months ago, thousands of miles away. We want to get politics back to normal. And those tensions, I think, are going to blow up over the next few months. It sums up the whole thing, you know, because essentially what this is the BBC giving a sermon to the plebs. That's what's happening with this Vicar of Dibley thing. You know, it's a religious style sermon. No doubt the Vicar of Dibley will take the knee and bow down and encourage the rest of the masses.
Unless she does take the... So no, there's a picture of her taking the knee.
Right, well, there you go. And so it sums up the whole thing. It has become, wokeness has become the new religion in this country. It's the establishment religion. It's the ideology through which these people presume that they are better than the rest of us and presume that they have to constantly lecture the rest of us about race and gender and all these other ideas. The fact that people are pushing back against this, I think, is incredibly positive.
There are also fans who are probably thinking, we've had enough of this. This is football. We come to watch a game of football and our game is being hijacked by a political cause. There are probably even more other fans who, like me, are committed anti-racists, who have challenged and fought racism most of their lives and feel that this has now become something of an empty gesture. And we remember what happened earlier this year to the NHS, when we used to go outside and clap every Thursday evening. And the NHS said, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. And it's honestly felt. But we believe now is it time to call a halt. And I think that we have arrived at that time in football.
You know, there used to be a very serious problem of racism in British football in the 70s and 80s. Black players got a lot of flack from some fans, but that problem has really been overcome. You know, British football is a great success story when it comes to challenging racism. 30% of professional players are black. Kids worship them, fans cheer them all the time. Fans from all backgrounds come together to watch games. And now, over the past 6 or 7 months, that's all been undermined by the injection of this very divisive new ideology, which I think is a form of racism. This is neo-racism, encouraging people to think racially all the time, to judge people by the color of their skin, to think of yourself as a white person or a black person. It's bringing racial thinking back to life. And that's the last thing football needs. That's the last thing public life more broadly needs. And these Millwall fans, I think, with their quite simple booing noise, probably spoke for a lot of people in this country.
My personal view is that Black Lives Matter, capital BLM, is actually a political movement that is different to what most of us believe in, which is standing up for racial equality. But look, each individual can take their own choices about how they reflect this, and I know a number of people feel quite strongly and have taken that approach.
His comments have been greeted with disappointment.
I was shocked, to be honest. It just shows how privileged he is. It shows white privilege, that he can label it as a political movement and move on from it. I would say personally it's more of a social movement that is fighting equality and racial injustice.